What if I told you that what truly sparks a man's desire has nothing to do with what you see in magazines or movies? Would you believe me? There's a truth about male arousal that few men can admit, and it can completely revolutionize the way you connect with your own sensuality. I know exactly how it feels to believe you need to perform, to be someone you're not, just to spark interest, as if your natural self isn't enough. You're not the first woman to wonder if you're doing something wrong, or if there's a secret that everyone else knows, except you. And no, the problem isn't that you don't know how to seduce. One of the greatest scholars of human psychology discovered something fascinating about desire. What truly excites a man isn't connected to what you do, but to who you are. And until you understand that fundamental difference, you'll keep trying to please instead of simply magnetizing. Your feminine energy is far too powerful to be wasted on superficial games of seduction. And today, you'll discover the 7 secrets that no man has ever told you about what really excites him, and how it can set you free to be exactly who you are. The first secret that changes everything is this. What truly captivates a man isn't a woman trying to seduce him, but a woman fully present within herself. There's a world of difference between performing and simply being, and men sense this difference deep down, even if they can't quite put it into words. When you're present, truly inhabiting your body, connected to your senses, aware of your breath, you radiate an energy that awakens something primal within him. It's not about practiced techniques or moves. It's about a sensory authenticity that blossoms from a deep connection with yourself. A woman's presence acts like a doorway to the present moment. While men often live in the future, thinking about goals, outcomes, and achievements, your ability to simply be here, now, breathing, feeling, just being, creates a magnetic space he can't find anywhere else. Have you ever noticed how a man's breathing changes when you stop trying to impress him and just exist beside him? How he relaxes when you're not eager to please but centered in your own experience? That's because your presence invites him to step out of his head and into his body, to let go of worries and dive into the here and now. The secret is understanding that a man's deepest attraction comes from encountering a woman who doesn't need him to feel complete. When you are whole within yourself, when your sensuality blossoms from your own self-connection, rather than a need for validation, you become irresistible in a way that transcends any technique or strategy. Imagine the difference between a woman constantly trying to please and one who simply moves through the world inhabiting her own body with grace. The first may spark initial interest, but it's the second who creates lasting magnetism. Because when you are present, you invite him to be present too, and it's in that shared presence that true intimacy is born. Authentic presence has an almost hypnotic quality. When you're not trying to be sexy, but simply being yourself, feeling the texture of your clothes against your skin, noticing the rhythm of your breath, aware of the strength within your body, you emanate a sensuality that is both subtle and powerful. Try this. Before any intimate encounter, take a few moments to breathe deeply, feel your body, connect with your own vital energy. Don't prepare for him, prepare for yourself, and watch how this inner shift completely transforms the dynamic between you. The second secret is that men are deeply drawn to a woman who holds on to her mystery, not as a manipulation, but as a natural expression of her depth. Feminine mystery isn't about hiding things. It's about being so rich within that there are always new layers to uncover. Psychology reveals something fascinating. The male brain is wired for the chase, for discovery, for a challenge. But here's what most women don't quite grasp. That challenge shouldn't come from playing games or acting aloof. It has to stem from your own genuine complexity as a human being. A mysterious woman is one who has her own life, deep interests, passions that don't depend on him, rich inner worlds that she reveals gradually. She isn't an open book on the first date, simply because there really is so much to learn about her. Her philosophies, her dreams, her transformative experiences, her most intimate reflections. The exciting mystery lies in the woman who has her own opinions and doesn't change them to please, who has moments of contemplative silence where he wonders what she's thinking, who surprises with unexpected facets of her personality, because she truly knows herself deeply and isn't afraid to show her complexity. Think of the difference between the woman who tells her whole life story on the first date, eager to be accepted, and the one who shares gradually, because she respects herself and the natural process of getting to know someone. The first might create initial closeness, but it's the second who keeps the interest alive over time. When you cultivate your own interests, when you develop your skills, when you nurture your spiritual and intellectual life, you naturally become an inexhaustible source of discovery. And that's deeply exciting for a mature man. The prospect of spending a lifetime getting to know someone who continues to grow and reveal themselves. The opposite of that, the woman who gives herself completely from the first moment, who has no secrets because she has no depth, who changes her entire personality to suit him, might spark initial interest, but soon becomes predictable and consequently less exciting. It's like reading a book you already know the ending to. Healthy mystery also lies in your ability to maintain sacred spaces for yourself. Moments of solitude where you reconnect with your essence, personal rituals that nurture your soul, intimate reflections that you share only when it feels right. That's not coldness, it's conscious self-preservation. Cultivate your mystery by being authentic to yourself. Have personal projects, dreams that are yours alone, moments of introspection where you simply are. You don't need to perform mystery. Just be deep enough that there's always something new to be discovered, always a new layer of your personality revealing itself. The third secret might just be the most transformative of all. Men are deeply, intensely captivated by a woman who knows and expresses her own desires without any guilt or shame. Conscious feminine sensuality is one of the most magnetic forces in existence, but only when it blossoms from self-confidence, not from performing or desperately trying to please. There's a revolutionary difference between a woman who does what she thinks he wants and a woman who knows what she wants and has the courage to express it. The first might work temporarily, but the second awakens an admiration and excitement in a man that goes far beyond the physical. It sparks respect, curiosity, and the desire to rise to the occasion for a woman who truly knows herself. When you know your own body, when you know what brings you pleasure, when you can communicate your desires with clarity and without shame, you offer him something truly rare, the opportunity to be with a woman who belongs to herself. And that is deeply exciting because it shatters the old idea of a woman who sacrifices herself or pretends to be something she's not, just to keep the peace. Mature sensuality isn't about gratuitous provocation or calculated display. It's about owning yourself, body and soul. It's about a woman who inhabits her body with grace, who knows her intimate preferences, who isn't afraid to say yes to what excites her and no to what doesn't resonate with her truth. That sensual honesty is magnetic because it's so rare. It awakens in a mature man a kind of desire that goes beyond physical attraction, the desire to be worthy of a woman who values herself. He feels honored that she chooses him because he knows she has clear standards and won't settle for just anything. When a conscious woman chooses to be with him, that choice carries weight and meaning. A woman who expresses her sensuality from self-love, not from a need for validation, creates a completely different dynamic. She's not trying to please, she's sharing her truth. And that energetic shift transforms an intimate encounter from a performance into a celebration, from an obligation into a gift. Here's something that very few women truly understand. When you're clear about your own boundaries and desires, you teach a man how to value you. You show him that your energy is precious, that your surrender isn't guaranteed, that he needs to earn not just your body, but your wholehearted presence. The conscious expression of sensuality also includes the ability to say no when something doesn't feel right to you. A mature man is turned on by a woman who has clear boundaries, because it means that when she says yes, it's a true yes, not a submission conditioned by fear of losing the relationship. Practice getting to know your own pleasure without rush, without external pressure. Dedicate time to discovering what really resonates with you, what awakens your vital energy, what makes your body sing. When you know who you are sensually, you can share that with authenticity instead of performance, creating encounters that nourish both of you instead of draining you. The fourth secret is that authentic feminine vulnerability, not some fragile performance, but the courage to be real, awakens in a man a unique blend of protectiveness and admiration. But there's a subtle art to being vulnerable in a way that strengthens the connection. rather than weakening your position in the relationship. The kind of vulnerability that's truly captivating isn't about playing the victim or using old wounds to manipulate. It's the monumental courage to show your true humanity, your genuine insecurities, your deepest fears, your unfiltered imperfections, from a place of inner strength, not a desperate need to be saved. When you can say, "Sometimes I'm afraid I'm not enough," without making it his responsibility to fix it. When you can shed a tear without becoming an emotional burden he has to carry. When you share your doubts while maintaining your dignity and autonomy. You awaken something primal and deeply human within him. Psychology reveals that men are naturally drawn to the opportunity to protect and care, but only when that protection is offered as a voluntary gift, not demanded as an obligation or emotional blackmail. The vulnerability that truly excites is the kind that invites him to be a hero by choice, not forces him to be a savior out of guilt. There's a fundamental difference between opening up from a place of strength and opening up from emotional neediness. When you share your vulnerabilities because you trust him and want to create genuine intimacy, it fosters deep connection and emotional excitement. When you open up because you need him to complete or validate you, it creates pressure and eventual withdrawal. Mature vulnerability is selective and conscious. You don't open up to just anyone who comes along. You carefully choose who you share your deepest layers with, your most tender wounds, your most intimate fears. And that conscious, discerning choice makes him feel special, chosen, worthy of your most sacred trust. Notice the energetic difference. When you show vulnerability from a place of strength, you're saying, "I trust you with my truth." When you show vulnerability from a place of neediness, you're saying, "I need you to save me." The first creates intimacy and excitement. The second creates pressure and eventual suffocation. The vulnerability that excites also includes your ability to admit when you don't know something, when you've made a mistake, when you need help, but always maintaining your personal responsibility for your own emotions and choices. This shows emotional maturity, which is deeply attractive to a conscious man. Practice being vulnerable from your inner strength. Share your imperfections without diminishing yourself. Show your emotions without becoming dependent on them being received in a specific way. The vulnerability that truly excites is the kind that draws you closer without imprisoning, that invites without obligating, that shares without transferring responsibility. The fifth secret shatters many myths about relationships. Men are deeply turned on by a woman who has her own life and doesn't make him the center of her universe. Mature female independence, not as rejection or coldness, but as wholeness and autonomy, is one of the most powerful aphrodisiacs in the realm of human connection. There's a very common confusion between giving loving attention and losing your personal identity. Many women mistakenly believe that to excite and keep a man, they need to completely erase themselves, always be available for his every need, make him the sole reason for their existence. But the psychological reality is the exact opposite. The woman who is most exciting is the one who has a rich and meaningful life even when he isn't around. When you have your own personal projects, your deep friendships, your genuine interests, your passions that don't depend on his approval, you become someone he wants to win over again and again. You aren't a given in his life. You are present by conscious choice, not by emotional or financial dependence. And that difference is energetically electrifying. The independence that excites isn't calculated coldness or manipulative distancing. It's personal fulfillment. It's the genuine ability to be with him because you genuinely want to be, not because you need him to feel complete, validated, or secure. It's being able to offer your presence as a generous gift, not as a desperate negotiation for emotional safety. Mature men are deeply turned on by the prospect of being with a woman who can live well without them, but consciously chooses to stay. This awakens in them the desire to deserve that choice daily, to continue being interesting enough, evolved enough, present enough to keep a woman who has multiple options and high standards. Notice the crucial energetic difference. The emotionally dependent woman generates unconscious anxiety in the man. He feels he needs to constantly take care of her, emotionally sustain her, be responsible for her happiness and self-esteem. The independent woman generates excitement and admiration. He feels he wants to impress her, Win her over again and again. Be worthy of being alongside someone who chooses to be there. This doesn't mean being cold, inaccessible, or emotionally distant in any way. It means having a life so rich, diverse, and meaningful that your presence in his life is a wonderful bonus, not a desperate need. When you are complete within yourself, your natural energy of abundance awakens in him the desire for abundance too. Mature independence also manifests in your ability to make your own decisions, have formed opinions, maintain friendships that nourish your soul, pursue goals that you're passionate about. When he sees that you have a full life, he doesn't just respect you more. He feels inspired to have an equally rich life. Cultivate your independence not as a seduction strategy, but as a natural expression of the complete woman that you are. Have projects that excite you, friendships that nurture you, interests that expand you. When your life is rich independently of him, your choice to include him in that richness becomes a priceless gift. The sixth secret is that feminine intelligence, especially emotional and intuitive intelligence, is one of the greatest aphrodisiacs for a truly mature man. We're not talking about intellectual competition or mental superiority, but about the unique feminine ability to see beyond superficial appearances and understand the subtlest nuances of the human experience. There's a kind of intelligence that's profoundly feminine and magnetically attractive, the ability to read between emotional lines, to sense what hasn't been verbalized, to understand the unconscious motivations behind apparent behaviors. This intuitive wisdom fascinates a man because he recognizes in it something that complements his own way of processing reality. When you can see through the social masks he wears, when you understand his deepest fears without judging them or trying to immediately fix them, when you perceive his unrealized potentials and reflect them back to him with love and acceptance, you become irresistible. Not because you're serving his ego, but because you're seeing and honoring his deepest truth. The intelligence that truly excites is the kind that challenges without attacking, that questions without diminishing, that provokes growth without forcing change through criticism or ultimatums. It's the woman who asks questions he's never asked himself, who offers perspectives that expand his worldview, who sees connections he hadn't realized. A man feels deeply drawn in when he realizes you see him not only as he presents himself today, but as he has the potential to become. This feminine vision that sees possibilities awakens in him the desire to expand, to grow, to become worthy of the woman who believes in the best of him, even when he can't see it himself. But this intelligence should be offered as a generous gift, not as a critical correction or condescending superiority. When you share your insights because you genuinely want to contribute to his growth and the relationship's growth, it generates intimacy and excitement. When you analyze because you want to control him or change him to fit your expectations, it generates resistance and eventual withdrawal. Feminine emotional intelligence also manifests in your ability to navigate conflicts with grace, to communicate needs without drama, to create emotional space where you can both be vulnerable without judgment. This ability to generate emotional safety is deeply exciting for a mature man. There's also a sensual intelligence that's uniquely feminine, the ability to read the energy of an environment, to sense when he needs space or closeness, to feel the natural rhythm of approach and retreat that every healthy relationship requires. This sensitivity is like a relational superpower. Cultivate your ability to see beyond surfaces. Develop your intuition through practices like meditation, journaling, or simply moments of silence where you attune yourself to your inner wisdom. And offer this intelligence as a gift that illuminates and expands, not as a tool that exposes or controls. The seventh and final secret is perhaps the most powerful of all. Men are deeply drawn to the woman who inspires them to be their best selves, not through constant criticism or manipulative demands, but through her own living example of personal excellence and continuous growth. There's an almost irresistible magnetic pull in the woman who doesn't explicitly ask a man to grow, but who, through her own constant evolution and commitment to personal excellence, naturally inspires him to join her on that journey of expansion. When you're always developing yourself, taking care of yourself physically and emotionally, excelling in different areas of your life, you create an energetic field of growth that naturally invites him to raise his own standards. Feminine inspiration works completely differently from direct demands or emotional pressure. When you consistently become the best version of yourself, taking care of your physical health, developing your natural talents, cultivating your spiritual life, nurturing healthy relationships, pursuing meaningful goals, you emit a frequency of excellence that awakens within him an organic desire to grow too. A man feels profoundly attracted to the woman who makes him want to be better, not because she criticizes him or points out his flaws, but because her mere presence reveals possibilities in life he didn't even know existed. It's as if, through her eyes and her example, he sees higher, more fulfilled versions of himself. This inspiration happens most powerfully when you don't try to change him directly, but when you dedicate yourself to changing and improving yourself. When you take care of your physical energy through exercise and mindful eating, when you seek knowledge through books and courses, when you develop your creative skills, when you consciously work through your emotional issues, you become a living example of growth. And here's the magic of this process. When you genuinely improve for yourself, not to impress him or manipulate him, the transformation is authentic and therefore deeply inspiring. He realizes you aren't just putting on a show of evolution, but you're genuinely evolving because you value your own journey of growth. The woman who is most captivating is the one who silently invites him, through her own consistent example, to embrace higher versions of life. She doesn't need to constantly talk about personal growth. Her way of living speaks for itself, and that quiet form of leadership is irresistibly attractive to the mature man who also seeks evolution. This includes how you handle challenges, how you recover from disappointments, how you celebrate your victories, how you relate to other people. When he sees you navigating life with grace, wisdom, and resilience, he naturally wants to develop those same qualities. Inspiration also happens when you maintain your high standards without being rigid, when you commit to your values without being judgmental, when you seek excellence without being a perfectionist. That combination of determination and flexibility is magnetic. Practice being the change you want to see, not just in the world, but specifically in your life and your relationships. Become a constant source of inspiration through your genuine commitment to your own growth and fulfillment. Now that you know these 7 fundamental secrets, it's crucial to integrate them, not as mechanical seduction techniques or manipulative strategies, but as organic and authentic expressions of your mature feminine essence. Each of these secrets is actually a sacred invitation for you to reconnect with aspects of your nature that may have been forgotten, suppressed, or conditioned to express themselves in ways that don't honor your truth. To put this into practice in a sustainable and transformative way, start by consciously choosing one of these 7 secrets that resonates most with your current moment in life, and dedicate the next 2 weeks to exploring it deeply. If it's presence, practice regular moments of mindfulness throughout the day, connecting with your body and breath. If it's mystery, invest real time in a personal interest that you've been neglecting. Always remember, you're not trying to become irresistible to any man who comes your way. You're consciously reconnecting with aspects of your femininity that naturally attract the right man for you, the one who has the capacity to recognize, value, and reciprocate the depth you offer. There's a fundamental difference between authentic magnetism and artificial manipulation. These secrets work because they're expressions of feminine truth, not performances created to please. When you genuinely incorporate them into your life, you don't just become more attractive, you become more yourself, more aligned with your essence, more powerful in your own skin. Find a truly quiet moment today, away from distractions and external pressures. Place your hands on your heart, take 3 deep breaths, and ask yourself sincerely, how can I honor my feminine energy in a way that it shines naturally, without forcing or performing? Trust completely the answer that comes from within. Your ancestral wisdom knows exactly what you need to cultivate at this moment in your journey. The revolutionary truth about what excites a man has absolutely nothing to do with calculated performance or learned techniques. It has everything to do with you being authentically yourself in all your depth, complexity, and natural feminine power. When you understand that your conscious presence, your genuine mystery, your unapologetic sensuality, your courageous vulnerability, your mature independence, your intuitive intelligence, and your constant evolution are the true universal aphrodisiacs, you stop desperately trying to please and start simply being. And in that authentic and whole being, you offer the world, and especially the man who has eyes to see, exactly what he most unconsciously desires: the transformative encounter with a woman who knows herself deeply, values herself unconditionally, and expresses herself from her own wholeness, not from lack or the need for external validation. This is the silent and powerful revolution of the conscious feminine, not conquering through exhausting performance, but magnetizing naturally through radiant authenticity. When you incorporate these secrets as expressions of your truth, not as strategies to get something, you become irresistible not only to him, but to all of life.